have a passion that is with me always, and with it I have learned to cry, to laugh, to feel, to love, to live. This limitless passion that fills me every day is none other than opera. A passion where I have always found the answer I seek. A passion that has given me everything, and one that I need and want to share with all of you, because opera is life, and sharing is the best there is.
For all of you who feel young, for you who are 20, 25, even 30, for all of you who think back on your youth with nostalgia, but most of all, for all of you who once wanted to take on the world, this is your opera.
La Bohème was one of Puccini's most beloved operas. It's a celebration of life, friendship, youth. It takes place in Paris in 1830. Claude Debussy said that never before had anyone described Bohemian Paris like Puccini did in La Bohème. That's why we're doing today's show in Paris, to see what's left, to feel young and immortal again.
Every year, thousands of tourists travel to Paris hoping to bring out their Bohemian side. But what is Bohemia really? It is the charming cafes recommended in guidebooks. I'm pretty sure that's not it. That's why we're going to try to go beyond the cliché. We will follow Puccini and nothing else. We will let La Bohème be our guide.
La Bohème, like all of Puccini's opera, has a great hit. You recognize it, don't you? It's Musetta's Waltz, the ideal song for wandering these streets, because it is right here that Puccini kicks off his opera, in a garret in Montmartre, a youngful neighborhood that still pulses with this bohemian past. Our first stop, La Place du Théâtre, a cobblestoned rectangle where finding a few feet of free space is nearly impossible.
This square is famous for the painters who take you over, be it night or day, warm or cold, rain or shiny. Where 100 years ago, Montmartre was already a neighborhood of artists. Back then, most of them were short of money, but long on attitude. That artistic spirit that Puccini captured in La Bohème. All great artists that you know, like Toulouse-Lautrec, or Degas, but also Monet and Renoir. This neighborhood was also home to artists like Baudelaire, the coarse poet. And lastly, this man, writer Henri Murger, the author of this book, Scenes from the Bohemian Life. Puccini used this book to create La Bohème. In his pages, Murger relates his own experience. He explains how he lived in an attic here in Montmartre together with other artists, always miserably without a penny in his pocket. The protagonists of the novel are, with some variations, the protagonists of the opera.
We'll start with our protagonist, Rodolfo the poet, who writes stage plays, poems, and scrunches together a living, just like Henri Murger. Then we've got Marcello, painter. He's never sold a painting in his life, but he's absolutely sure of his talent. Third character, Chenard, the musician. At the start of the opera, he just made a little money giving a piano lesson, enough to have some fun. And the last of our bohemians is Colline, the philosopher. Here you have them, hanging out in their garret, drinking and goofing around like we all did as youngsters. They are happy because there is nothing they fear, because they need very little to be happy. They have scored a bottle of wine, and that's enough. They are young and they see everything through rose-colored glasses.
who spent his youth much like the four friends in La Bohème do, was Puccini himself. At 22, he shared an apartment with other young artists in Milan. He also lived hand to mouth and went on 1,000 adventures. So, beyond basing it on the book by Henri Murger, Puccini drank from his own experience when writing La Bohème.
Maybe that's why this opera was so important to him. And actually, at the same time that he was composing La Bohème, Puccini founded a social club with other artists in Torre del Lago, a club that he called Club La Bohème. The regulations it had were priceless, hilarious. Just reading them will make you want to join the club.
The members of the club La Bohème pledge themselves under oath to be well and eat better.
Les grincheux, les estomacs sensibles, les puritains et d'autres êtres vils ne seront pas admis.
El presidente cumplirá las funciones de árbitro y se encargará de obstaculizar la labor del tesorero.
Le trésorier sera autorisé à s'enfuir avec l'argent.
Todos los juegos permitidos por la ley quedarán prohibidos.
Se prohíbe el silencio.
Wisdom is not permitted, not even in special cases.
Would you like to be part of a club like this?
Our next stop is a truly legendary spot in Bohemian Paris, the bookstore Shakespeare & Co., just a few steps from Notre Dame Cathedral, a place of pilgrimage for young writers, because, you'll see, it's a shop that hides something more than just its charming maze of books.
Oh, Sylvia.
Hello.
Oh, how are you doing?
Welcome.
What an amazing place.
Thank
It is
you.
so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I agree.
What is all this about English-speaking writers who have nowhere to go being able to sleep here?
Well, we're an English-speaking bookshop, and since the first day that we opened in 1951, my father, George Whitman, he invited people to sleep in the bookshop. You don't have to be English-speaking, but everyone who sleeps here, who's invited to sleep here, has to be interested in being a writer.
How many nights can you sleep here?
Normally people stay from 1 week to 1 month, but one gentleman stayed 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah, but that was an exception.
So, and without paying a penny?
No, it
is for free?
It's free because George's philosophy was give what you can, take what you need, and be not inhospitable to strangers lest they be angels in disguise. And his idea was that, people should be able to sleep here, especially writers. Paris is an expensive city, and here they can be inspired and start writing.
So they don't have to pay nothing in exchange?
Nothing, but they help us. They help us. They're very helpful at opening the bookshop, closing the bookshop. They have to write a one-page story of their lives, and they have to read a book a day.
Read a book a day? That's great.
They're kept busy.
So it is true that you keep here in the library photographs and writings of all the writers who slept here?
Yeah, everyone has to leave their one-page story, and we have 30,000. So we have 40 books.
30,000.
Yes.
Incredible. Can we see one of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I have one upstairs in the library.
Okay, I follow you.
Okay.
Wow.
Look.
So, this is the way up?
This is the way up to the library.
Wow.
Okay, so this is the fiction reading room.
Yeah, the library, and the book is?
And I have one example of the book here. This one is it's a folder from 1999.
Okay, so more than a book, this is a folder.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, here, for 7 years, I have been selling used books in New York City.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples here.
Great.
Yeah, some of them are really moving, and some of them are very funny.
So the question is, where are the beds?
Oh, I can show you the beds, absolutely. Yeah, they're not, they're
Can
hiding.
We see them?
They're hiding in the piano room.
In the piano room?
Yes.
So there's also a piano?
Yes, absolutely, for everyone to play. And here you have the beds.
One bed here.
Yep.
And the other one here. And a piano too.
And with the piano in between.
And I don't know if you would mind if I play the piano.
I would love that.
If I can play and explain the bohème on this piano.
Please do, yeah. Make yourself at home. Play as long as you want.
So, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
For your kindness.
It's nice to meet you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, it is amazing to have a piano here in the middle of the library with the beds and with all this stuff. And before we start with La Bohème, let me show you something. This one here. Please play our piano. We know it needs a tune-up, but we like the way it sounds. Some words that could refer to the famous song by Tom Waits, "The piano has been drinking, not me." And now, about La Bohème. I want to show you all how, from the very first notes, we can feel the spirit of La Bohème. It is a very, very powerful music, a music that infects us with a desire to come to Paris to live this life. Listen. You see, this music is pure momentum, pure energy. I would say, if you allow me, this music is almost refreshing music. We could say this is la joie de vivre. But what is the Bohemian style of life? So the poet Rodolfo, the character of Rodolfo, describes it to perfection in the first act when he says, "Who am I? Who am I? I'm a poet. And what do? I write. E come vivo? Vivo. And how do I live? Well, I live."
If we are going to find the bohemian artist that Puccini talks about, we'll have to go to 59 Rivoli, a 5-story building housing over 30 artists' studios. It's a building that was squatted by a group of youngsters at the end of the 90s. Years have gone by, but it hasn't lost a lick of their spirit.
Gaspar!
Hello. How are you
Ramon.
doing? How are you?
What a crazy place!
Well, welcome in 59 Rivoli.
Beautiful place. What is this place exactly?
This art place has opened about 15 years ago.
In the 90s?
In the 1999, precisely.
Yeah.
But in a very strange way, a weird way. It was illegal. Because this place, the whole building, was empty. It had been empty for 10 years. And we are a bunch of artists, no money, totally broke, full of dreams.
How many?
3 of us.
3 of us.
And we are walking in the cities of Paris, in the streets of Paris, and we see this building empty. And we say, this is the heart of Paris, and nobody does nothing with this place. We should try to come in. So we have to break a window. That's what we do. At night, we break it, we climb.
You come in.
We come in, and we close the door and put our looker. We're in, illegally. We're squatters. That's how it started.
Wow. So you had a dream.
We had a big dream, yes, of course.
So exactly as the Bohemians in La Bohème, in the opera, they're young and they have dreams, they're artists. So can we say the people today, nowadays, the people don't have dreams anymore?
Well, today in France, especially in France, I don't know how it is everywhere else, but in France, young people are very depressed. When they're 18, 20, they bury their dreams. So let me show you another place.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the 3rd floor.
Okay. Great. That's great.
Artists from all over the world have come into this place because they've heard of it. Like Pascal Foucault, for example. Pascal is here, and he's been here from the very beginning. Okay, so he's a permanent artist. And then you have 10 artists that are resident artists, only here for 6 months. Like, let me introduce you to Carla.
Carla?
Carla has been here...
¿Qué tal? ¿Tú eres española? Sí. Oh, caray.
Yeah, she's been here only for 3 weeks. It's never art that makes the selection, because we believe that any art should be shown. and there should be no selection about art.
Wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Check out this atmosphere. Art is in the air here. A special place to meet up with an artist who is just as special.
Massimo, ciao!
Ciao!
Come stai?
Ciao Ramon, come va?
Benissimo, benissimo. Ti ho portato qui, penso che questo luogo ti piacerà tantissimo.
Bellissimo.
Molto molto speciale.
Andiamo.
Andiamo.
Here he is, Massimo Giordano, one of the best tenors in the world and now one of the Bohemians. He is playing Rodolfo in the Paris Opera House, the protagonist from La Bohème. Let's leave Massimo in the hands of Swiss Moroccan for a minute. Very nearly the first painter who came to this building. An explosive combination, wouldn't you say? With his leather jacket and the daring air about him, I would say there is something of our Bohemians in Massimo. I bet talking to him will bring us closer to the spirit of that era.
Massimo, ti ho portato qui perché so che sei un appassionato dell'arte e pensavo che questo luogo ti piacerebbe, no? Questo è un luogo molto speciale.
È un luogo bellissimo, un posto veramente speciale con un'atmosfera bohemienne perfetta.
Noi stiamo cercando di ritrovare la Bohème a Parigi. Esiste ancora?
Non credo che esista la Bohème più.
Ma non
diciamo, non quella Bohème che noi riconosciamo come Bohème. Questa è già Bohème.
Sì.
Già siamo in un ambiente e un luogo come Bohème. Però, diciamo così, oggi come oggi, come dire, le relazioni e tutti questi rapporti fra le persone sono cambiati. E quindi c'è qualcosa che si chiama internet che rende tutto molto più veloce e molto più, come dire, superficiale. E si è perso un po' il gusto di quello che è.
Ma questo è peccato.
Queste cose che sono vere e pure.
Beh, è peccato questo.
Certo che è peccato.
È molto più bello. Quello che Mugger e poi Puccini dipintano nella Bohème.
Ma la Bohème, diciamo così, che ha nell'immaginario collettivo un motivo di esistere per quello che è l'amore, diciamo, fra Rodolfo e Mimì. Ma io credo che la Bohème possiamo trovare delle cose che sono molto più interessanti, che è la storia di amicizia, di complicità, di povertà, di sofferenza, di felicità. Diciamo così, la Bohème dà un ampio spettro di quelle che sono appunto le emozioni che appartengono all'essere umano, no?
Perché Rodolfo, quello che fai tu, il tenore, il Rodolfo, il poeta, è proprio... Loro vivono in povertà, tutti i quattro amici, ma sono felici.
Loro sono felici perché con nulla, appunto perché la scena inizia, diciamo così, a casa di Marcello.
Che è il pittore.
Che è il pittore. E lui invece è il poeta, quello lì che scrive, che vive in un mondo, in un'atmosfera, in
un sogno?
In un sogno, sì, si può dire in un sogno, in un mondo suo, praticamente. Come tutti gli artisti, d'altra parte, no?
Com'è andata tutta questa storia che hai incominciato a cantare? Per caso?
Ma per caso, diciamo, non è stato tanto sì, è stato un caso, però... Sai, quando eravamo con gli amici, no? Io avevo sempre una voce abbastanza, così, forte e potente, no? E loro mi dicevano, dai Massimo, facci sentire come faceva Pavarotti quella volta. Come faceva Pavarotti? Vincerò, vincerò. E allora erano là che, John, dai, devi fare questa cosa qua. E io dicevo, ma no, per favore, io non sono in grado, io non sono un tenore. Allora, dopo un paio di giorni mi incontro con un mio amico pianista, andiamo in una sala, cominciamo a cantare, canto una canzone napoletana con questo pianista, il pianista mi guarda e mi dice, oh, tu c'hai una voce, tu devi cominciare a studiare. E lì si comincia a studiare.
Io devo parlare un po' di questo t-shirt che tu hai lì.
Ti piace?
Sì, ma mi piace molto perché, se non sbaglio, a te piace non soltanto la musica, l'opera e la musica, diciamo così, classica, detta così,
sì,
ma anche un altro tipo di musica.
Ho cominciato, non dovrei dirlo, ma non odiando l'opera, ma diciamo che non era uno dei miei favoriti.
Allora i gruppi che ti piacevano erano...
Iron Maiden, AC/DC,
che sono grandissimi.
Def Leppard, non lo so.
È anche una bella musica.
Just Scorpions.
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
Allora, questa notte fai la recita della Bohème, non te voglio disturbare più. Ti vedremo questa notte? Vengo al tuo camerino.
No.
Prima la recita?
No.
Non mi lasci?
Ma sì, dai.
Ci vediamo questa notte.
Grazie. Grazie.
La Bohème, just like La Traviata or Carmen, got some terrible reviews when it opened. Puccini was pretty troubled by them, especially because he didn't trust the conductor, who was at that time young, inexperienced, and unknown. Does he look familiar? It is the great Arturo Toscanini, the first real genius of modern orchestra conducting. At the time of the opening, no one knew Toscanini. Puccini had no faith in him. They went through some really tense moments, but despite it all, La Bohème brought them together and made them friends for life. Toscanini was known for being a conductor with a strong personality. He openly showed his temper at rehearsals. This is one of the few recordings of Toscanini that exist, and it is a stroke of luck that he just happened to be rehearsing, attention, this.
That's Toscanini conducting Musetta's waltz. Listen up, that's his voice. But besides this famous song, what do people actually know about La Bohème?
Bohème, pour moi, c'est vraiment le triomphe de l'amour, de l'amitié et de la passion.
Pour moi, la Bohème, c'est un opéra autour de l'amour en général.
La période bohème, donc toujours des histoires un peu tragiques.
Pour moi, la Bohème, c'est plusieurs histoires d'amour, d'amitié. C'est surtout l'histoire entre Mimi et Rodolfo.
There you have it. Most people think that La Bohème is a love story, the romance between Rodolfo and Mimi. And before discovering the opera, I thought exactly the same thing until I realized that La Bohème is much, much more than this. But okay, anyway, there is love in the opera. In fact, there is a lot of love in the opera, not only one love story, but two, with two very, very different women, Mimi and Musetta. And since Puccini gave his characters a musical personality, these two women are very, very different musically. For instance, let's listen first to Mimi. It sounds like this.
Mimi sounds sweet, doesn't she? We are at the start of the opera. Mimi and Rodolfo just met. Love at first sight. Mimi appears and she sings to him sweetly because she wants him to fall in love with her. So she sings about beautiful things, about poetry. She shares the very same bohemian spirit with him.
So we have heard what Mimi sounds like. How about Musetta? What does Musetta sound like? Okay, if we are going to talk about Musetta, we need a different atmosphere. I'll show you later. Right now, remember, we've got a date.
In an hour from now, La Bohème will premiere, and we've got the honor of sharing this moment with Massimo. We're entering the Great Bastille Opera House in Paris, but through a special door, the artist's entrance.
Dopodiché, quando viene il make-up,
ci vediamo. Io aspetto da lì.
Un pochino.
Va bene.
Signorina, le dirò con due parole chi son, chi son.
Oh, che rapido, Massimo. Ciao. Cosa facciamo, Massimo? Adesso sei proprio Rodolfo. Guarda tutto quel make-up.
Guardami, sono Rodolfo.
Con l'abito di Rodolfo.
Cantiamo?
Ah, possiamo?
Dai.
Ma la facciamo.
Forza.
La facciamo. Ma cosa vuoi?
Vediamo un po', dai.
Un po' della gelida manina?
E della gelida manina. Proviamo.
Che gelida manina, se la lasci riscaldar, cercar che già al buio non si trova. Ma per fortuna è una notte di luna e qui la luna l'abbiamo vicina. Aspetti, signorina, le dirò con due parole chi son, chi sono e che faccio come
Bravo! Bravo tu! Che io non so suonare, sto suonando cosa.
Bravo!
Ma bravo a te. Allora, sei prontissimo?
Prontissimo, andiamo.
Prontissimo, bravissimo. Come si dice?
In bocca al lupo.
In bocca al lupo.
Crepi
il lupo. Anche toi toi toi. Grazie tante, Massimo. Ci fa un grande piacere per tutti che ci hai cantato e hai fatto un po' della recita della gelida manina. Adesso
Piacere.
aspetto fuori e poi ti accompagno sul palcoscenico.
D'accordo.
Va bene?
A dopo.
Grazie.
Ciao.
Fantastic. The opera begins and all of Paris is going to enjoy La Bohème, but we have had the pleasure of listening to Massimo on our own. A one-of-a-kind opportunity. Amazing.
Bonjour.
Ah, bonjour.
Bonjour, oui. Comment allez-vous?
Très bien, merci.
Très bien.
Content de vous voir.
Ouais, je suis très heureux d'être ici.
Oui.
Oui, parce que cet endroit, c'est absolument fantastique.
Oui, c'est fantastique, c'est unique.
Unique. Il n'y a pas l'air d'avoir changé depuis plus de 150 ans.
Ça n'a pas changé, c'est toujours la même chose depuis 150 ans. On garde toujours la même tradition.
Quels artistes connus ont fréquenté l'opéra Gilles?
Beaucoup d'artistes, de peintres, de poètes, chansonniers. Il y avait aussi des comédiens et puis des écrivains. C'était l'époque de la bohème, ce qu'on appelait la bohème.
Oui.
Et les gens, les artistes qui venaient à Montmartre, c'était moins cher que dans Paris. Le vin, notamment le vin. Et donc pour ça les attirait. Plus la hauteur, c'est sur la hauteur. Quand on est sur la hauteur, on se sent plus puissant. Et puis malheureusement, mais c'était des gens qui commençaient leur art. C'était le début de leur art. Ils ne vendaient pas, ils n'étaient pas connus.
Mais tu as maintenu l'essence et la tradition de la bohème.
Oui. Tiens, on va les voir tout de suite. Okay. Tiens, tu veux par ici?
Par ici? Oh.
Il y a de la joie. Bonjour les hirondelles, il y a de la joie. Dans le ciel par-dessus l'étoile, il y a de la joie. Et du soleil dans le rues, il y a de la joie. Partout, il y a de la joie. Tous les jours, mon cœur va chavirer, chancelle, c'est l'amour. Qui vient avec je ne sais quoi, c'est l'amour. Bonjour les demoiselles, il y a de la joie. Partout, il y a de la joie. Un gris boulanger, bat la pâte à plein droit. Il fait du bon pain, du pain si fin que j'ai faim.
Now that the vibe is heating up, it's time to listen to Musetta. If Mimi is a delicate woman, then Musetta is an erupting volcano. They are two women who love in very, very different ways. Musetta is in love with Marcello, the painter, and their relationship is much stormier than Rodolfo and Mimi's. I could have searched out a piano to play Musetta's waltz for you, but Musetta needs people, fun, just what we have here, spontaneous artists livening up the Parisian night.
J'ai demandé à notre ami Ramon de se mettre au piano et de nous faire un petit peu avec Laura qui va chanter un petit extrait de Puccini.
Ok, alors. Pretty much. So, fine. C'est ça. Bravo. Ça va être.
Bon marque 3 pour notre ami Ramon et pour Laura, qui l'a fait tout à fait à la fois.
Fun can't last forever. We have reached the third act when the life of our Bohemians starts to change. One of the crucial moments of the opera is here, when the two couples, Rodolfo and Mimi, Marcello and Musetta, break up. It is the famous quartet of the third act. What I find fascinating about Puccini is how he shows us two different ways of separating, of breaking up, of saying goodbye, and he does so in one single musical piece.
Io t'acconcio per le feste.
Rodolfo decides to leave Mimi. He knows she's ill and he can't cope with her dying. It's a great moment, a sweet separation. Completely unlike Marcello and Musetta's breakup, which is more violent, more personal. Puccini describes the two separations with extraordinary power because he knows that the end of a love story is just as important as its beginning.
I'm sure many of you at home must have experienced firsthand or through people close to you one of these two radically different ways of ending a relationship. Anyway, our journey through Bohemian Paris will soon come to an end, and our opera today is almost there too. At the end of the opera, the Bohemians share their apartment once again, far from their sweethearts. But one day, Musetta and Mimi return to the garret. Mimi wants to see Rodolfo before dying. By the time we get here, the opera has gone through the entire color palette, from the gorgeous white of youth to the black of death. It is here that the Bohemians realize that living is not as simple as they believe it to be. So Mimi is dying and Puccini shows this to us, turning the orchestra into the cardiogram of her heart, getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Listen to this. Pianissimo. Listen to the cardiogram. Clang, clang. And here, always weaker, weaker, weaker. It remains only one note. And then, with this chord, she dies. And Rodolfo is the last one to notice. And when he realizes that Mimi is dead, what does he do? He screams. This is the decisive moment of the opera, when Mimi dies and the four Bohemians come to realize that life is not a game, that life is a serious business. Reality hits them with all its force. They come to realize that they are not immortal. Puccini speaks to each and every one of us. Puccini is speaking to us about that moment that we all have experienced, about that moment when we have grown up, about that moment when we were not more immortals. But Puccini, with his music and his verse, is telling us that despite it all, we should never, ever, ever give up on our dreams.
A 20 anni io avevo molti sogni, diciamo così, il più importante per me era quello di riuscire a avere una famiglia.
Cuando era jovencita quería viajar por todo el mundo y pintar y encontrar una pintura que fuera solo mía.
Quand j'étais jeune, je pensais à fonder une famille, à me marier un jour. Je voulais surtout me marier avec une espagnole, une catalane qui a l'esprit de famille.
Il secondo sogno per poter realizzare il primo era quello di diventare un cantante d'opera, poter avere sempre la salute per continuare a sognare.
My dream was, as I was 20, to be an artist.
When I was 20, my dream was not to have to work during all my life, meet as many girls as possible, and play chess when I have some time.
Oggi come oggi tutti questi sogni, grazie a Dio, si sono realizzati.
J'ai rencontré une jeune catalane de Barcelone et puis on s'est mariés. Voilà.
You are in my dream, actually, my friend.
Well, I still have to work. I haven't met that many girls, and I don't play chess a lot.
And voila, this was my dream.
With La Bohème, Puccini makes us look back and smile, because although reality has slapped us in face just like it does with the Bohemians, we will always recognize ourselves in that young person with impossible dreams that we used to be.
Because every once in a while it is important to stop, to look back, and to remember that there was a day when we were young, when we were immortal, that one day when we wanted to take on the world.